I'm Margie. Standing in the middle of the media frenzy at the press conference, I cast a glance at the glass-enclosed VIP area. There, my mother Eloise, a tough-as-nails businesswoman who's always been fixated on status, and my sister Lily, a once-touted young star in the retail world, sat in stunned silence. Lily's face was ashen, and her phone lay forgotten on her lap as the numbers on her screen showed the collapsing stock price of Luminous Retail, the company she was part of. This moment was the culmination of years of hard work, but it was also payback for all the times they'd underestimated me. Let me take you back to that fateful morning in the Oakbrook Mall. The soft hum of fluorescent lights filled the air as I tidied up the display in my small accessories boutique, Sparkle and Grace. I'd always been an early bird, poring over spreadsheets and planning for the day while the rest of the mall was still in slumber. Suddenly, my mother's voice echoed through the empty corridor. "Margie, still playing at this little game of yours?" She stood at the entrance of my store, her Celine handbag a statement of her refined yet ruthless business persona. Eloise was a powerhouse in the high-end department store business, the CEO of Eloise and Company. Behind her, Lily was engrossed in her phone, clearly trying to hide a sneer. "Good morning, Mom," I replied, continuing to arrange the latest collection of hand-crafted bags. "What brings you to the mall so early?" "The board meeting, obviously," Lily answered, finally looking up from her phone. She was only 28 but had already made a name for herself as the youngest board member of Luminous Retail. "Some of us have real business to attend to." Mom's presenting the quarterly reports for Eloise and Company. I nodded, remembering how they'd bragged about Lily's achievement at every family gathering. Meanwhile, in their eyes, my little shop was nothing more than a hobby, a waste of my prestigious NYU Stern School of Business MBA. "Margie, dear," my mother said, picking up one of my bags. "When are you going to give this up and join the real world? You could be running a successful business like Lily and me." "I am running a real business," I retorted, checking my phone as a new notification popped up. Lily scoffed and gestured around my carefully designed store. "This isn't a business, it's a glorified kiosk. Your whole shop could fit in my dressing room." My mother walked over to my small office area, frowning at the simple wooden desk. "At least tell me you're considering that assistant buyer position Lily mentioned at Luminous Retail. It's a step up from this nothing venture." I smiled, my eyes fixed on the mall's security cameras that showed a group of people approaching. "Right on time." "Actually, I have a meeting this morning, too," I said, straightening my simple yet elegant blazer. "With your craft suppliers, I bet," Lily laughed. "Or maybe the food court manager to discuss some cross-promotion?" Just then, the quiet of the morning was shattered by the sound of purposeful footsteps. A commanding voice boomed from the doorway. "Right on time," I heard myself say calmly. There stood Mr. Alexander Blackwood, the owner of Blackwood Retail Holdings, the most influential retail property group in the United States. Behind him was a team of well-dressed executives, filling the entrance of my store. "Shall we begin, Margie?" Mr. Blackwood said with a warm smile, stepping forward to shake my hand. "I've told you to call me Alexander. Especially now that you're about to become our biggest retail partner." My mother's handbag slipped from her grasp, and Lily's phone clattered onto the display case. "I've brought the final contracts," Alexander continued, gesturing to his legal team. "The board is extremely excited about acquiring Sparkle and Grace's complete operations. 300 locations is an ambitious goal, but with your numbers." 300? My mother whispered, her voice barely audible. I pulled out my tablet and brought up the presentation I'd prepared. "Actually, Alexander, I've been looking at the projections. I think we should aim for 500 locations in the first phase." The executives murmured in approval as I showed them the charts of my store's performance metrics. These numbers had caught the attention of the biggest names in the retail industry. "This little shop?" Lily stammered, looking around with a new sense of wonder. "This little shop," Alexander explained, has the highest profit per square foot ratio in the entire retail sector. Margie's business model has revolutionized the luxury accessories market. That's why we're paying $12 billion for the chain. My mother grabbed a nearby display rack for support. $12 billion plus performance incentives, I added, pulling up the contract details. Although I'm more interested in the sustainability initiatives we discussed, Alexander. Has the board approved the eco-friendly manufacturing facilities? All green lit, he confirmed. They're already calling it the Margie Protocol. Your approach to sustainable luxury is going to change the industry. Just then, Lily's phone buzzed, probably with news alerts as the announcement went live. My small store was about to become the talk of the town. Now, Alexander said, spreading out the contracts on the table. Shall we make history? I caught my mother's eye as she stared at the figures on the documents. The numbers were far greater than the annual revenue of Eloise and Company. Margie, she whispered, how long have you been building this empire? About as long as you've been mocking my little shop, I replied, signing the first page of the contract. The morning sun finally peeked through the skylight, bathing my small store in a warm glow. It was the blueprint for a new retail era. Outside, I could hear the mall slowly waking up, oblivious to the fact that the unassuming shopkeeper in the corner was about to become a global retail titan. The press conference is at 10 o'clock, Alexander informed me. The business networks are already setting up in the atrium. I nodded and turned to my stunned family. Mom, Lily, you should head to your board meeting. I think Luminous Retail is going to have some tough discussions about their new competitor. As they stood there, frozen in shock, watching me sign away billions, I allowed myself a small smile. Sometimes, the greatest empires start in the humblest of places. In a matter of hours, the mall's atrium had transformed into a media circus. CNBC, Bloomberg, and all the major news networks jostled for position as Alexander and I prepared for the press conference. Through the glass walls of the VIP room, I could see my mother and sister in the front row, their faces etched with shock, as if they'd completely forgotten about their own board meeting. I slid another document across the table to Alexander. These are our global expansion projections. We'll start with Paris, Milan, and Tokyo. The Asian market alone should triple our revenue within 18 months. Remarkable, Alexander mused, studying the numbers. You've been planning this for years, haven't you? Since business school, I confirmed, thinking back to my mother's dismissive comments about my silly career choice. While everyone thought I was just running a small boutique, I was busy building and perfecting the ultimate retail model. My phone buzzed with another alert. The headline read, Sparkle and Grace Revolution, How a Small Shop Became a Retail Empire. It made me smile. They had no idea what was yet to come. Just then, my PR director, Ms. Taylor, entered the room. We're ready for you, but there's something else you might want to know. Look at the atrium. I followed her gaze and saw the entire board of Luminous Retail entering, their faces pale and worried. Your sister's company? Alexander guessed. They're about to announce a 40% drop in quarterly earnings, I explained. It seems their so-called innovative strategies weren't that innovative after all. Through the glass, I watched as Lily's face drained of color. One of her colleagues pulled her aside, no doubt delivering the news that would end her rapid rise in the retail world. The press conference began with Alexander's introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, what you're about to witness is not just a business acquisition. It's a revolution in retail, led by a visionary who understands that the future of luxury lies in sustainability, accessibility, and innovation. I stepped up to the podium, feeling my mother's intense gaze on me. The simple blazer I wore, part of my upcoming sustainable fashion line, suddenly felt like a suit of armor. For 5 years, Sparkle and Grace has been more than just a small accessory shop, I began. It's been a living laboratory, perfecting a business model that will change retail forever. The screens behind me lit up with data, profit margins that made industry veterans gasp, sustainability metrics that put so-called eco-friendly brands to shame, and innovation patents that would revolutionize manufacturing. Every customer who walked into our tiny store, I continued, glancing at Lily, became part of the most advanced retail research project in history. Every purchase, every interaction helped us build an AI-driven model for the future of luxury retail. My mother's hand flew to her throat as the screens displayed my global infrastructure, automated manufacturing facilities, and eco-friendly supply chains that made traditional retail seem archaic. While others focused on mindless expansion without innovation, I said, watching the luminous retail board shift uneasily in their seats, we focused on perfection before scale. Today, we're not just announcing an acquisition. We're announcing the future. The reporters erupted with questions, but I honed in on one detail I knew would hit home. Our first flagship store will occupy the entire east wing of Oakbrook Mall, including the space currently used by Luminous Retail's flagship department store. Lily's face turned beet red. She slumped in her seat as reporters turned their cameras towards her, recognizing the once celebrated retail prodigy who was about to lose her empire to her small shop-owning sister. Furthermore, I continued, Sparkle and Grace's AI-driven retail system has already been quietly tested in 50 locations worldwide, disguised as small independent boutiques. Each one outperformed neighboring luxury retailers by an average of 300%. My mother's well-maintained composure finally cracked. While she'd been boasting about Lily's position at Luminous Retail, I'd been building an empire that would render traditional retail obsolete. Miss Margie, a reporter called out. Sources say you've been offered positions at major luxury brands for years. Why keep running this small shop? I smiled, thinking of all the condescending remarks and family dinners where my store was the butt of the joke. Sometimes, the best way to change the game is to let others underestimate you while you perfect your strategy. The screens switched to live footage of Sparkle and Grace stores around the world, each one about to reveal its true identity. In Paris, Milan, Tokyo, and countless other cities, my small shops were about to show the world they were part of a global retail empire. Now, I concluded, we're ready to show the world what we've built, and this is just the beginning. As the applause filled the room, I caught a glimpse of my mother's face. It was a mix of shock, shame, and perhaps a hint of pride. Lily sat beside her, staring blankly at her phone as the stock price of Luminous Retail continued to plummet. Alexander stepped forward and shook my hand, the cameras flashing as the retail world witnessed its own revolution. The press conference finally ended, and my mother approached me in the now empty atrium. Her high-heeled shoes echoed on the marble floor. Margie, she said softly, I don't know what to say. You don't need to say anything, I replied, checking the latest stock projections. Sparkle and Grace's value had already doubled since the announcement. Lily stood behind her, clutching a termination letter from Luminous Retail. How did you do all this without anyone knowing? The same way I've done everything else, I smiled. While you were both looking down on my little shop, I was looking towards the future. Just then, Alexander approached with the final documents. Margie, Tokyo is waiting for a video call. Shall we? My mother reached out and touched my arm. I was wrong. We were all wrong about you. No, I corrected her gently. You were wrong about what success looks like. Sometimes, it's not about the size of the business. It's about the size of the vision. I turned to leave but paused. Oh, and Lily, about that assistant buyer position you offered me. I'm actually hiring for a new sustainable fashion division. Entry level, of course. Feel free to submit your resume. As I walked away towards the next chapter of my empire, I heard my mother whisper, all this time, we thought we were watching her fail. No, Alexander replied loud enough for me to hear. You were watching her build a revolution one small shop at a time. The morning sun streamed through the skylight, shining on my tiny store one last time before construction began to transform it into the flagship of a global empire. Sometimes, the biggest dreams come true in the smallest spaces. You just need the patience to build them.